Hello, love. My name is Sophia, and I'm the host for the Unshakable Soul podcast. This is a space where we get to unravel the magic and mystery of our human experience. And I love to offer you the insights, the wisdom teachings throughout each episode as it goes with each theme that I bring up. And I also love to bring in the practical piece so that it doesn't just stay in your mind as a concept that you intellectually understand, but actually is felt in your body and integrated in your everyday life. So if you're ready, let's get started. The thematic for today specifically is talking about the multifaceted nature of the feminine. So we're going to go through 4 main archetypes. We're going to understand why is it important for a woman to learn and embody these archetypes. And we're going to see how that is weaved in all our seasons we go through. The outer seasons, our inner seasons, and our seasons of life. So that we're able to move through these seasons of transition with greater ease and flow. So, as an introduction to this conversation, I want to bring in a deep acknowledgement of the pain women have been going through. So, women have been revered for a lot of their qualities as holding it all together, the nurturer that abandons herself, the one that always gives, but in giving so much she depletes herself of her own energy, of being the good girl, right? Of this performative appearance, of the beauty that she has, right? So it's a lot of energy that women have been spending outside of them, and perhaps in areas and in ways that do not nourish them. So there's a big part of women that feel exhausted now in the collective because they constantly are focused on the exterior, and we can trace that back to a deep ingrained fear of losing love and connection. But this is when we speak of feminine reclamation, feminine power, is when a woman learns to nourish herself. And in nourishing herself, she also nourishes the collective. In healing her wounds of self-abandonment, of self-neglect, of self-rejection, of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, she is a walking, breathing beacon of hope for other women that have also felt the same way, giving them a new perspective and a new energy to embody. But first, this woman has to feel that for herself. So a lot of feminine power and reclamation, or the way I've embodied it, is through the archetypes, through actually witnessing myself in my fullness, in my rage, my wildness, in my wiseness, in my mysticism, in my loving nature, in my nurturing nature too, in the way that I have vision and bring that vision into reality through action, through courageous, small, aligned action. And this is the meat of this conversation and what we'll dive into next. 4 main feminine archetypes that we get to embody. There are more of them, but for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to relate it to the seasons, our inner seasons and our outer seasons. Okay? And to close off this introduction, feminine power, when we start bringing our energy back, it literally speaks to that. Your power is your energy. And what does it take from us to actually give ourselves this energy back? Well, it takes feeling comfortable in our bodies. It actually takes us being present with ourselves, with our emotions, with everything moving through us, right? Instead of suppressing it and putting it to the side because other people are more important than us. Other people's problems or pains are more important than ours. Better to focus on them than on me. But that's not how it works when we're looking at healing a community in the world or humanity. We have to first be willing and able to witness ourselves, to witness and to feel our grief, our pain, our anger. Okay? So this is where we dive deep. Feminine reclamation and power is deeply seated. It's a descent. Okay? It's a reclamation. We descend to rise. We root to rise in our radiance so that we can live in our truth. We can say yes to the things that actually light us up, and we can say no to the things that literally are draining our energy and perhaps have been for a while, but we haven't actually acknowledged that or had the courage to stand up for ourselves and speak our truth. Okay? And the basis of feminine power and reclamation and reclaiming our feminine power and basically all these different facets of our being, the archetypes, is connecting with the body. That's why what I guide women through is very embodied. Yes, there is a mental component of the concepts and the teachings that I share through my own teachers and mentors and my own healing journey and what my own understanding of what it means like to be a woman and what I've experienced in this world and observed, right? There's the contemplation, the reflection, the curiosity, the open-mindedness. But arguably the most important is when you're embodying that knowledge into your 3D reality and you feel viscerally the shifts in energy. Okay? So, let's dive into feminine archetypes. And while I'm speaking, you can listen to this passively, laying down, closing your eyes. You can listen to this standing up, looking at the screen, or sitting down. And just notice what position you want to be in and offering you really this space to really listen. Maybe you're in the car driving, and that's okay. But as I speak these words, notice what's happening in your body as well. Right? Your body speaks truth. Your body holds the wisdom. So with this podcast, with this episode, start feeling into subtle sensations. Notice how your body's language is vibrating through your skin and your bones. Okay? Because truth can feel sometimes very crunchy, especially if we've been resisting it. But ultimately, truth is liberating. So there could also be a sigh of release. There could be a tension and knot somewhere, but there could also be an opening. So I'll invite you to breathe through all of this conversation. And if anything becomes too much, of course, press pause, maybe come back to this episode, or press pause for a few moments to reground and to just allow yourself to breathe or to move some energy, to shake it out. Okay. So find your comfortable position and let's begin. The meat of the journey. So here I have some notes here so I don't go too off on a tangent, but I'm going to allow this to flow. Let's see what's coming through. So, feminine power, coming back into the body, archetypal embodiment, multifaceted nature. Maybe this is the first time you're hearing about this. Maybe you're like, Sophia, like, what do you mean, like, women, multifaceted nature, archetypes? Let me clarify and illuminate this part of the conversation for you if this is new to your ears. So, women are multi-dimensional beings. we live with the tides of the wave, with the phases of the moon, with the ebb and flow of the seasons. We're cyclical beings. And we move just as a moon. With her phases, we also have our inner seasons, just as we can see in nature. Okay, that's why for a woman, a lot of her healing is beautifully complemented as she reconnects with nature, as she reconnects with the elements, as she reconnects with her own inner rhythms and cycles. This is why tracking the phases of the moon and tracking your own phases within you, whether you're menstruating or not, you still feel it energetically. This is so important for a woman as she reclaims her power, reclaims her own pace, reclaims her own creativity. Okay, so that she can create from a space of truth and authenticity instead of people pleasing and burnout and overworking and trying to control to keep herself safe. Okay, so I'm going to go through these seasons, which you already know, the outer seasons, but how do they actually relate to the feminine archetype involved in each season and the phase of the moon? So let's start with the fall, because right now as I'm recording this, we're slowly transitioning into fall and dipping our toes into September. Okay, we feel the coolness in the air, especially in the nights. It's a bit darker during the day, or darker. We're coming towards that autumn equinox. So the inner autumn or fall season. For a menstrual cycle, this is the luteal phase. This is the shedding. Okay? This is when you have the wild woman coming through. And this is the one that's the most taboo and actually the most feared and rejected by society, from men and from women. Okay? And this is the one I love to play with because it's the one that's the crunchiest for a lot of women and a lot of men. For the men that are with women as their partners, or just not even just romantic partners, but also at work, or even as a daughter, like having a daughter. You're a dad, you have a daughter, right? There's a misconception of like, oh, she's PMSing. No, she's releasing. So your inner autumn, in terms of the moon, it's the waning gibbous. This is after the peak of the moon, at full illumination. She is waning. So we had an illumination at the full moon. There was clarity. There was aha moments. And now fall offers you a chance to release. Based on the illumination that you've had, something came in, an insight came in, and now this luteal phase, this inner autumn, the waning gibbous moon offers you a transition to the darkness to incubate a new beginning. But that whole phase is the crunchy part. It's the, what am I going to need to release so that I can create space for the new? Right? So a lot of us, we want change, but we're not willing to let go of an old pattern, person, place, belief. Right? Because ultimately, what we're holding on to before created this sense of safety. I'm going to hold on to this person because I feel safe, even though I know it's toxic. This is the only thing I know. It's familiar to me. Okay? So this is why, this is the crunchiest one, because a lot of us are not willing to let go of our patterns. And underlying all those patterns are the beliefs. Right? I'm not good enough. Who am I to start a business? I'm just going to keep on in this job that literally drains me because I don't believe I have enough training, enough money, enough qualifications, whatever it is. Right? And maybe you will need some resources, right? Some trainings, some money put aside to start this. But sometimes we blow it out of this proportion to actually create excuses so that we stay in the same loop. But then we start victimizing ourselves, right? And then comparing ourselves, and then diminishing our spells and our gifts. This is when courage comes in, when you choose to say yes to what you really desire. And when you choose to close the door on something that doesn't serve you anymore, whether it's that job, that person, that place, that dream, that pursuit that maybe lit you up before, but now it's not. We need to honor that rhythm within us and that cycle. Right? Is that person here for a day, a week, a season, a lifetime? Like, is it closing? What is coming to a completion? Right? So the full moon gave us that clarity, and now the release, the inner autumn, our luteal phase, is literally bringing us to a place of, okay, this is what I need to do so that I can incubate from a place like 0 point, that I can empty out. Okay, but this is why you see women with their PMS, premenstrual syndrome, a lot of the times because we resist the change. We know, our body knows that it's time to move on to whatever that change is, but we resist. Okay? So, inner autumn. And we can always pull on nature for guidance. The trees, when autumn comes, they don't cling on. Unless it's a cedar tree or a pine, like they don't shed their leaves. So let's say maple tree. The leaves will change colors and they will slowly start dropping to the floor to be composted and create beautiful grass for next season, for the spring. So too are we part of nature, first of all, and we're offered the same cycle. So after luteal phase, we come into our menstrual phase. This is our inner winter. This is the archetype of the crone. And let me backtrack for 2 seconds. I didn't explain too much about the wild woman. The wild woman is, I'm relating it now to the PMS woman, or the woman that has like mood swings, cravings, that is a little bit more rough on the edges. Like, this is the wild woman archetype, and she's here, and we could ride with her instead of shaming her. Okay? This is part of feminine reclamation, and being in your feminine power is realizing that all of these archetypes, there's not one that's better than the other. It's am I acting in a distorted archetype or through a divine archetype? Because yes, the wild woman that's distorted in her shadow, she is really hurtful. Not only harming herself, but her loved ones. When she's in her divine, she's creative. She's deeply intuitive and she's expressive. She creates art out of her emotions. She's not like emotionally vomiting on her partners or whatnot because she's actually deeply afraid. She's coming from truth, and that's very different. You can feel it differently, right? She's not afraid of setting her boundaries. Like, luteal phase and the inner autumn is really about setting your boundaries, right? And you're looking at emotional turmoil. You're looking at like, I'm feeling a lot of emotions, but I'm going to work with them and not suppress them. I'm going to create art. Is it singing? Is it dancing? Is it writing? Whatever your craft is, I'm going to let that emotion move through me. Okay? So that when I come into my crone archetype, the incubation of the new, the planting of the seed, I'm in the darkness of the new moon in our winter. I am highly intuitive and I can be guided from the wisdom of my womb. Like a crone is like, I'm deep in my womb space, the void. I'm in my inner universe where I'm planting anew. I'm in the earth element. I'm planting the seed. So if we see as the inner autumn as the water element, we see the crone, the inner winter, as the earth element. Okay, and together they're slowly allowing something to bud. So your crone archetype, she's more into stillness, into rest, deep wisdom, sourcing from her feminine power, her intuition. So this is a great time for dream journaling, really being conscious of your dreams. Wild Woman is time of truth-telling and emotional expression, emotional alchemy, a time for boundaries and discernment. Okay? And as we come out of our period of menstruation, of inner winter, we're coming into the Maiden, the follicular phase of our menstrual cycle. This is our inner spring, or the spring season. This is about new beginnings. This is about taking aligned action. It's about creativity, playfulness, new adventures, right? This is about really taking action. So we've incubated, feel into that. I'm incubating, I'm resting, I'm rejuvenating my energy, I'm recuperating from a lot of emotional releasing in my inner autumn. Inner winter, I'm coming into 0 point, feeling into that stillness. And from that clarity, from that inner wisdom, I have the direction. At least for this next phase, I have the 1, perhaps 2 aligned actions. It doesn't need to be big, but I'm ready to take action. And I have the energy to back it up. So feel for you in your own cycles. After this podcast episode, start tracking and noticing as we look at the moon, is my energy shifting with her? Right? Do I feel in the crescent moon this rising tide, like a rise in my energy? Do I feel like I want to be in the huntress mode a little more? Huntress is another, it could be also the maiden. The huntress is like, she's focused, she's going for what she wants. The maiden, we can feel into playfulness, innocence, curiosity. It's like, like, who is this person that's coming out of the depths of my womb, the depths of the darkness? She's like, let's be curious, let's play a little bit, right? And I'm also, there's this focus for the huntress. It's, I have the bow and arrow, and boom, I'm focused, so I'm taking action. Okay? There's an ambition, there's a drive there as well. So we can start playing around with different archetypes. If you know different archetypes, you can play around with them and see how they fit into each season. Okay? So for the crone, you could also feel into medicine woman. Medicine woman, I'm taking care of myself. I'm making myself beautiful potions. We can work with herbs and food. And this is what I offer women as they work with me one-on-one, and also in online containers I offer. And retreats in person. It's holistic. It's working with all the seasons, working with nature as our greatest healing medicine, working with food, our herbal allies, working with animals too, spirit guides, all the support that we have, Grandmother Moon, Father Sun, right? We work with it all. So, we're in the spring season. We're coming out of the depths of the darkness, right? And slowly moving forward, we already feel this surge in energy that's pulling us forward. This is like, I have clarity now. I'm taking forward. I'm taking action. I'm making the call. I'm sending the email. Right? I'm taking the steps, whatever steps it is. I'm building momentum. And we can see this in the crescent moon. Like from the dark moon, it's growing lighter and lighter. And we're getting to the summer. So summer's ovulation phase. Summer is depicted by the archetype of the mother, or also the lover, ecstatic lover. Okay, so in summertime, feel into summer. Feel into radiance, fullness, full moon. Feel into like the mother archetype. She's nurturing. So you've planted the seeds, you're seeing them grow. The spring is you're tending to them. You're checking in, you're seeing with your aligned action, am I still on track? Am I good here with myself and where I'm going? Do I need to pivot? What resources do I have on hand? Who are my allies? My external resources and my internal resources, my self-belief that's going to bring this dream that I incubated in my inner winter into fruition for summer. So that my fruits that I'm going to bear on this beautiful tree or this plant or this flower, that it could be fully seen and received and shared. That's the whole purpose. So it's being out there. And through my creative energy, I express myself authentically. I feel into how love wants to move through me. What is your unique expression? What is your art? What is your gift? Summertime is the time to shine, to let that out, to be in your full radiance. So there's a lot of energy of also the lover in there, right? There's just like basking in your light, like she is full, she is fulfilled, right? She is full of radiance. She doesn't need a man, right? The woman doesn't need a man, but the thing is that she is fulfilled because she's sharing her gifts, she's sharing her fruits, right? And what tends to happen if we're not honoring all these sacred rhythms, we are not allowing ourselves to share our gifts. So if we don't honor each phase, the next phase will be impacted. If I don't honor the inner winter, the restoration, the rest, then I won't have the energy in the spring to actually take the actions I need to take to be able to see the fruits of my labor and my dreams come into full fruition in the summer. Right? If I'm not able to express myself authentically, to share my radiance and be in my fullness in the summer, then my wild woman and my autumn will be crunchy AF. I won't feel as though I've had expressed myself authentically, and I'll be angry. Okay? So it's important that we learn to honor these rhythms through rituals, ceremony, through diet, through herbal remedies, through movement and body practices, and curious contemplation, and just plain awareness and presence as we shift through all our seasons. So all these seasons offers us a check-in and a checkpoint to see where we're out of alignment and how to come back into alignment through all the practices I just mentioned. Okay? And know that these shifts and changes are not weaknesses, but are actually your strength and your wisdom. And I know that society has depicted a woman's emotion as a burden on society, as something that's wrong, that should be shamed, or something to fix. But truth is that your emotions is your gateway to your truth. For you to realign, to reconnect with your truth, so that when you're acting from truth, from love, a devotional love to your truth, to your own self-expression. And ultimately, that devotional love reverberates outwards. But you have to be able to be present and witness yourself in all of these seasons. And at the end, accept your multifaceted nature. So ask yourself, is there a part of you that you shame? Is there any archetype here that you're like, ooh, like I'm not familiar with that one, and I'm like perhaps even averse? Is it the crone, like the witchy side? Is it the lover or the mother? Have you thought, I'll never be a mother, right? That was me. I remember that was me not long ago. And it's only in the recent 2 years that I'm like, whoa, there's a great and beautiful nurturing aspect to me I haven't allowed to come online, for a belief that I wasn't good enough to be a mother, right? So I spent a lot of my time in the wild woman phase, which I love. I love her, but she was like overbearing and distorted. And I was just looping in her, constantly in the depths of my waters. So learning myself about my inner rhythms and using nature outside of me to bring me back into me, into my truth, really helped me to embrace all of these facets of my being and see them as my superpower. And this is when women become alchemists, taking our experiences that perhaps feel crunchy, heavy, and turning into our best wisdom, providing us with clarity on how we wish to move forward, how we wish to live, love, and lead our lives from a place of truth and authenticity, instead of people-pleasing, numbing our emotions, and just merely surviving and living in fear, trying to control everything. Okay. So let's take a deep breath together. Inhaling. Exhaling. And that was a lot. So before I move on to a few journaling prompts, I want to offer a couple daily embodiment and mindfulness practices that are simple and accessible for the modern day woman to integrate or implement into her everyday life. Okay, so this is when concepts don't just stay in the mind, they come into your body, into your everyday life. You don't need to go on retreat or need to go somewhere else to experience this deep feminine power. Of course, there's beauty in actually creating that separation from your everyday life. And that's the way it worked for me. I had to take myself out from everything that was causing me stress and turmoil, to realize a lot of things about how I was causing myself, or I was a big player in causing myself so much stress and turmoil. But then it doesn't just stay out there. It's not about going to the next retreat or the 50th ayahuasca retreat. It's really about integrating it all back into your ordinary, mundane life and making it extraordinary and magical. Okay, that's when you know you're healing. It's when you're able to come back to perhaps the same situations but respond differently. Okay, so these little micro practices are especially for the women that feel too busy or too tired. So the first one is to breathe. This is very simple. 3 conscious breaths before saying yes to anything. Number 2 is the body scan. This is a 1-minute check-in. Ask yourself, placing your one hand on your heart, one hand on your womb. You can do this first thing in the morning before you get out of bed. What does my body need right now? And you could also offer a body prayer. So in the same time, you could say, thank you, body, for being here for me. Just starting your day off with that reverence for this physical body. for everything that it does for you. Number 3 is movement. This could be gentle swing, stretching, it could be dancing. And this is just a way for you to shift whatever energy is moving through you. Okay, whether that's anxiety, whether it's anger, even sadness, fear. So you can shake, you can move in a way that's fluid. And this is really the invitation to allow your body to move you, instead of the mind thinking, oh my gosh, I should be moving a certain way. Okay, so I'll offer a playlist. I have many playlists in my Spotify. But in the show notes, I'll offer a playlist to just, you could play around with and choose how much time you want to spend for this embodied practice, this movement practice. For some, it's like, Sophia, I'm doing an hour. For some, it's like, okay, I'm creating a new morning routine and I'd like to just have 15 minutes to start with. Great, that's like 4 songs. Okay, so create your own playlist maybe. You can pick from mine and see what songs resonate more for you. Which song speaks to you in a visceral way. So, breath, 3 deep breaths, body scan and body prayer in the morning, then movement. Okay? The 4th one is sensory presence. Okay, we're sensorial beings. It's awakening the senses really brings us back into presence. So whenever we find ourselves in our minds and already thinking about next things, because as women, we have this multi-dimensional way of perceiving everything, which is beautiful, but it could also create a lot of overwhelm in the mind. So to bring us back is just take in the environment with your senses. So touch, feet on the ground. You can physically touch your body. You can even affirm, I am here right now. This also works if you're feeling very anxious. So I work with a lot of women that are very anxious, very in the mind. So this can be a simple grounding practice for you. Maybe it's just before eating your meal. You're sipping some tea. Can you feel the liquid coming in? Can you smell the food before maybe eating very quickly? Maybe your habit is to eat quickly or eat standing up. Can I just allow myself to slow things down? So for your sensual awakening or sensorial presence, we really want to offer yourselves the space to actually slow down and come within. So feet on the ground, touching your body, your skin, your clothes. If you have the food, the sensorial, like the smell, or maybe you don't have the food or the tea or the drink, but you're outside somewhere or you're even in your room and you're just noticing what you can smell. Taking that breath in. Right? It could also be a slow walk. So maybe you're barefoot on the grass, or maybe you're just walking in nature, but you're moving more slowly and you're becoming more aware of your body touching the ground, right? Okay, maybe you're seated down and you want to listen, hearing the birds, or you're just hearing your breath. Okay, so the idea here is to come into presence. All of these practices are coming into presence, but feel for you which one resonates more for you. And the last practice I want to offer is the permission slip. So a lot of us are seeking permission from the external world, from a boss, a colleague, a partner, whomever, family member. Permission to do what? Permission to slow down, to rest, to go on that vacation, to start a new job, to quit your job, whatever it is for you. It doesn't need to be big. It can be very small too. Permission to have the slice of cake, right? Your permission slip is you reminding you that you're allowed to rest without guilt. You're allowed to have a massage. You're allowed to take yourself out for dinner. You're allowed to feel so much pleasure. You're allowed to speak your truth. You're allowed to go on vacation. You don't need to earn your joy, your pleasure, your rest. You're already worthy as you are. And what I just mentioned in itself, there's a lot of layers to unpack, because maybe you're already listening to me being like, that one doesn't sit very well. What do you mean I don't need to earn it? Right? This is the big one, but just reminding ourselves that very gently, I have the permission to rest. I can go at my own pace. It could be as simple as that. And notice how that sits with you, how that lands with you. So if you're feeling yourself feeling guilty for saying no to, like, your colleague wants you to help them, let's say, but you have a lot on your plate, and usually you say yes, but this time you're choosing differently, so you're saying no. Maybe before you're having that conversation with them, you have a conversation with yourself. It's like, look at yourself in the mirror. Just say to yourself, I have the permission to say no without guilt. Right? I choose to reclaim my energy. Remember, feminine power is reclamation of your own energy. And your energy is time. And your energy is so valuable. You are valuable. So how do you move in a way in your life that honors your own value, your own worth? Is it about setting more time for things that actually nourish you? That massage, that walk in nature, that vacation you've been postponing, the time with your family, with your friends, the reconnection with your own body, with your sensuality, your sexuality maybe. So have fun with this. And you don't need to do all these practices. Maybe you want to do them all. Maybe you already have a couple of them already in your daily routine. Okay? And just feel which ones resonate the most. And try it out. And I'm going to offer some journaling prompts, and I'll slip them also in the description note. But if you want to write them now, or I'll just verbalize them and see how they're landing with you in your body. There are 4 of them. Where am I currently performing instead of being me? Number 2. What season or archetype do I feel I'm in right now? And what is she asking of me? Number 3, where in my life am I afraid to ask for support? And what would open if I allowed it? What would become possible if I allowed it in? And number 4, what would it look like to move from 80% of my energy? What would it look like to move through today, at 80% of my energy instead of 110? Okay. So, thank you for listening. I hope the medicine is being received in your body, in your mind, in your heart, in the way it needs to be received. Again, I'm going to put in the description below these journaling prompts along with a playlist. Again, you could check out my Spotify. I have many playlists, but I'm just going to offer this playlist where you can feel into the songs that you like to just start moving to. Okay? And if you're willing or ready or interested in going deeper and you're like, Sophia, something in what you said is vibrating at a deep level, let's go deeper. How can I work with you? There's a couple ways that you can work with me. There's the women's retreat that's coming up soon in Ottawa, Canada. That's called Sacred Cycles Women's Retreat. It's September 19th to 21st at the north of Ottawa. This is really for you to take that sacred pause for yourself, to unplug completely from city life, to immerse yourself in nature, reconnect realign in sisterhood. This is for the woman that's creating craving a community and wants to be in person with me. She's craving more ritual and more understanding of her own rhythms. Okay? That's the in-person component. I've also created an online component, an online journey that's called Her Sacred Rhythms, and that's starting in January 2026. I'm still creating it. It's still being intubated, but the opening is coming up very soon in September, October for early enrollment. There's going to be an online community space where everything will be held in there. So no social media at all. It's going to be one platform, one login, one password, where you'll have access to a year-long immersive experience through all the seasons, outer seasons and inner seasons, all the different archetypal embodiments, practices, rituals, seasonal ceremonies, and different ways to actually work with me in that space. So depending on your level of commitment and intimacy that you want, there's going to be 3 different pricing options for the woman that maybe just wants to dip her toe into this type of work, to the woman that's ready for the core and the meat of the whole immersion, to the woman that's all in on the transformation and is ready to go all in, which will include one-on-one sessions with me and personal self-care kits mailed directly to your inbox, as well as priority and discounts for my in-person retreats. Okay? So there are many different ways that you can work with me. I'll leave the link as well in the description where you can look at all these different offerings I have, feel into them, pass them on to a girlfriend if you feel that they would also benefit from being in my space. Thank you so much for being here.